What is up, guys? Eric here from Real Film Reviews, bringing you another movie review, this time for the new Andy Serkis film, War for the Planet of the Apes. War for the Planet of the Apes is the third in the trilogy of the new Planet of the Apes films. It stars Andy Serkis, Steve Zahn, and Woody Harrelson, and it is the epic conclusion. In this story, there is now the sort of remnants of what is the US Army still exists, and their job is to wipe out the apes. But after a sort of flawed attack, Caesar is forced to go there to try and take them all down with his few ape companions, and it is an extremely dark film, but man, Matt Reeves really showed that you can mix and mash a ton of genres and make a phenomenal movie out of it. The two big things that I want to point out right off the bat are, A, the score of this film is so great. The opening score for the first sequence is so fitting, and it's so like loud and roaring, and it's just great. Like, I cannot say enough about how great the score was in this film. And also Matt Reeves' direction. This guy is a class act of a director, and I am so excited to see what else he goes on to do. I know that he's probably making the next Ben Affleck Batman movie, and seeing this just got me more and more hyped for that, because he has really shown he can film action extremely well. He knows how to work drama. He knows how to do anything with special effects, and I think that he has a very bright future ahead of him. I think it goes without saying, but I do have to mention the effects in this movie are absolutely phenomenal. I think that this will 100% be nominated at the Oscars next year for Best Effects, if not winning, because man, this movie looked so great, and it wasn't even in 3D or IMAX or anything. It was just watching it, and it looks so amazing on the screen. All of the returning characters do a great job, along with the new additions always feel fleshed out, and you feel like you understand their decisions even if you don't agree with them, which is always extremely important in films. You never want to have a character that's just sort of there to do a thing, and you never really understand why they're doing that. This film always gives the reasoning behind what's happening. It's also just an awesome war movie. It has really great action sequences. The final battle, the opening scene of this movie is one of the best opening scenes I've seen so far this year in a film. It just works so well. It's up there with the opening scene of Logan for me. I really loved it because it immediately pulls you into the movie, and you are super invested in what's going to happen after that point. Steve Zahn's character of Bad Ape was a fun new addition to the film. He's sort of a comedic relief for being kind of dumb. He's an ape that came from a zoo, and he was sort of interesting to see how he developed on screen with these others extremely serious characters. Along with him, Harrelson as this 1911 with a mahogany grip wielding colonel did a great job. He was very dark and dreary and sort of Old Testament, but it really worked with what he was trying to accomplish in the film. And then, as I have to say, give Andy Serkis his dang Oscar, because this guy is phenomenal in this movie. I mean, absolutely superb. I don't know how someone who is playing an ape in all CGI is able to give such a phenomenal performance, but man, Andy Serkis is so great, and I know that he's going to get an honorary Oscar at some point in his career for CGI performances, but I really would love to see him actually be nominated for one of these movies, because he just does such a great job, and it's a performance that is on par with great performances from people that are live action acting. It's just so impressive. It's also just a really great send-off for the series. The way everything happens in the movie plays out poetically, so that way nothing is sort of overdone or it feels like they were trying to go over the top with anything. It just worked, and I think that that was really perfect. So I have to give them props for that, because it's very hard to ever finish a series in a way that everyone, I think, can agree with, and I think this is one of the few where when you see that last shot of the movie, you actually are okay with everything and you're happy with the way this whole series went. And as I said, Harrelson does give a good performance as the Colonel. However, I do feel his character was a little underdeveloped. Now, I did say how good this movie does at sort of developing characters, and we do get a lot of backstory from him, but I felt that it was the act of us not really seeing him in action very much that made it so we couldn't really feel that attached. While we did get to see a moment here or there, overall, he was always sort of in the distance as like the leader of the people that were actually carrying out the acts. I did really like his performance, and I thought the character was a good villain. However, I just sort of felt that he could have used a little bit more development, maybe a couple more scenes with Caesar or something like that. And then this is not a con for me, but I feel I have to mention it. This movie does have a somewhat slow pace. It doesn't drag at all, but it's just a sort of slow burn of a film because it really builds the drama and the feelings that you will have for the ending and the third act. Because the third act of this movie is really great, and I think that it's the second act where a lot of people would feel the movie's a little slow. I personally didn't, but I just want to warn people that go to this movie that it might feel that way for them if they like something that's constantly hitting them with crazy action. And then I would say arguably the main issue that bugged me about this movie is there's just a lot of little things that don't make sense. They aren't continuity errors, they aren't really plot holes, they're just sort of things that happen that we're supposed to just say, okay, yeah, that's how that would work, when you're watching the film, it doesn't really make any sense. I'm not gonna spoil any of it, and none of it is like something that ruins the plot of the movie, but there were just so many little ones that happened that I feel like I have to point it out in this review because it just kind of bugged me. I'm gonna give War for the Planet of the Apes an A-. If you would have told me back in 2011 that a film starring James Franco as a scientist making his monkey smart would have eventually turned into one of the most impressive visually and storytelling-wise films of 2017, I wouldn't have believed you, because the first movie, while it is great in its own right, is nothing like what this series became in these last two films that are both testaments to how great movies can be regardless of the story they are telling. And I have to give props to Matt Reeves again for how great this movie was. If you've seen any in the series, go see this one because it's phenomenal. And if you haven't watched any of the films in this series yet, get on it because it is 100% worth watching those first two so you can see this third one in theaters. Well guys, as always, I'm Eric. If you enjoyed this review, please do like, subscribe, comment down below what you thought of War for Planet of the Apes, share everything we do here on Real Film Reviews, and I hope to see you guys later.